Peter I in Vilnius. 4 weeks of horror. In the early 18th century, Vilnius was visited by a man who would probably be on anyone's top 10 list of famous Russians. In his homeland, he's known as the Great. He had marched to Vilnius with an army numbering over 10,000 men, and city leaders greeted him with a traditional offering of bread and salt. The man was the Tsar of Russia, Peter I. Peter took up residence in Vilnius because he thought it was a convenient place from which to command the Russian army. At the time, Russia was at war with Sweden, and although the Russians were not occupying the capital of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, the citizens of Vilnius were forced to live an entire month under constant stress. The ambassador of the Queen of England in Vilnius at the time wrote that the city was mired in poverty and suffering. Many buildings had been destroyed and the people were living a very hard life. Some inhabitants fled the city before Peter I even appeared. First and foremost, the Basilian brothers. They knew how much the Tsar hated them because they had recognized the authority of the Pope in Rome. They also knew that barely 1 month before, the Tsar had murdered one Basilian in Polotsk with his own hands, and that the remaining 4 brothers had been tortured by the Tsar's entourage. Peter I spent most of his time in Vilnius drinking and eating with local nobles and, after sobering up, visiting Catholic and Orthodox churches and convents. He even visited Vilnius University during the celebrations of the end of the academic year. The university had prepared an impressive throne for the Tsar, but he chose to sit on a simple wooden bench instead. Sometimes he just liked to feel like an ordinary man. But you can't really hide your true nature. Living in Moscow, the Tsar often visited the dungeons beneath the Kremlin to torture and kill prisoners suspected of crimes against the state. In Vilnius, meanwhile, he truly enjoyed a fight that broke out among Lithuanians at one of the banquets. Peter allowed the drunken officers to beat each other until they bled. When he met the Bishop of Vilnius, Peter forced the man to drink wine, even though the bishop had told the Russian ruler that his poor health prevented it. Generally, the Tsar liked to show off his power, which is why the Russian army held maneuvers every day in Vilnius, and why Peter even decided to organize a parade, lining up one company and marching in front of it around the entire city. But what the people of Vilnius feared more than a marching army was an army of looters. Even though the city had provided soldiers with quarters and provisions, the Russians still resorted to mass theft and violence against the population. So when a bolt of lightning struck tents in the Russian camp and killed several soldiers, the people of Vilnius thanked the heavens for this act of revenge. Once autumn came, the people of Vilnius probably couldn't believe their ears when they heard that the Russians were leaving and not returning for some time. Part of the Russian army had lost a battle against the Swedes in what is now Latvia, so the Tsar was departing to deal with the situation.